In this last section, we will be addressing special needs and considerations, life cycle housing, wants versus needs, and special needs and abilities. Life cycle and housing. Life cycles are another way to view your housing needs. A life cycle is a series of stages through that an individual or family passes during its lifetime. In each stage, there are new opportunities and new challenges to face. You develop new needs and values and prioritize them according to what is most important to you. These changes relate to your housing. Individual life cycles. Each person follows a pattern of development or an individual life cycle. It is divided according to age groups into the following 4 stages, which each stage divides into substages. Infancy. The 2 substages of infancy include newborn, birth to 1 month old, and infant, 1 month old to 1 year. Childhood. The childhood stage has 3 substages. Early, 1 to 6 years old, middle, 6 to 8 years old, and late childhood, 9 to 12-year-old. In childhood, of life cycle and housing consists of a family home, usually multiple bedrooms and bathrooms. Youth, which would fall under independence, would mean dorm or apartment, meaning a person could individually live in small living spaces or shared space. During this stage has 4 substages, including preteen, early teen, middle teen, and late teen. In late teen is when you would gain that independence and move to a dorm or a apartment. Middle years, very dependent on money and family needs, usually a larger apartment at first and then eventually owning a home. This would be adulthood. Young, mature, and aging adults are the substages of adulthood. Just as you have been placed in an individual life cycle, your family has its place in the family life cycle. A family life cycle has 6 stages, or more substages may exist within each stage. Beginning stage are when married couples without children. Then we have childbearing stage, and that is when couples with children up to 2.5 years old, couple with children to 6 years old. Parenting stage, that is when couples have children from ages 6 to 13 years old. Launching stage, this is when couples have children leaving home or having children living away from home. The mid-years stage is when couples are right before retirement, but after the children have left the home. And then finally retirement, which is aging stage, and that is when couples during retirement until death of both spouses. And in this retirement stage, they live in condos, assisted living, or retirement homes, usually consists of smaller spaces. Other factors to consider when it comes to life cycles and housing needs are that as you move from one stage or substage of a life cycle to another, your housing needs change. When planning housing, consider what stage or substage of the life cycle you are in. If you think that both your present and future needs, your housing can help you live the kind of life you desire. There are many factors that influence choices in housing. These include values, family relationships, space needs, cost, roles, and lifestyles, culture, location, availability, and budget. Here are 2 ways on how you can calculate what you can afford. 1, 28% of your gross, which means your before taxes, monthly salary. 1 monthly house payment. Example, you make $3,000 a month times 28, or 0.28, which equals a payment of $840. Or you can give 3 years gross income, which equals your house worth. For example, 3 years gross income, remember, gross income is before taxes, at $35,000 a year times 3, meaning 105,000 per year. Finally, our last section of unique needs, or needs of people with disabilities. There are many people with disabilities in the United States. They include children, older adults, and adults who work and live on their own with their families. The types of disabilities vary. Some people have a vision or hearing loss, while others have difficulty moving and must use wheelchairs, crutches, or walkers. Others may have learning or developmental disabilities. People with disabilities need housing to meet their needs. They may be unable to live independently in housing built in the past. Appropriate housing can assist people who have disabilities with their daily living. For example, a bedroom or a bathroom has been adapted to meet the needs of a person in a wheelchair. The Fair Housing Act of 1988 is a legislation that gives people with disabilities greater freedom to choose a place to live that meets their needs. The Act forbids discrimination in housing and requires multi-units to be accessible to people with disabilities. The law requires accessible entrances, wider doors, and easier installation of grab bars around toilets and bathtubs. Although law does not address every aspect of making multi-units fully accessible, definite improvements were made. A result, the law helps provide housing that is safer and easier for everyone to use. If you or a member of your household has a disability, please consider a ground-level dwelling, a building with a minimum 5-foot by 5-foot level entryway, or a landing that permits entry doors to open easily. Universal design. In the past, homes were built for the average user, able-bodied adults and average height. But recently, designers and builders have shifted their designs to accommodate people of variety in abilities and needs, which means universal design. When people with disabilities have housing that meets their needs, they can live more independently. If you should build a home someday, you can incorporate features of universal design to extend the house's usage for all conditions of life.